Welcome to the Audacity to Podcast, episode 58, How to Start a Blog or Podcast Website, and hosting recommendations. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Audacity to Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel J. Lewis, and happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you have had a wonderful Thanksgiving and spent time with your family and friends. And if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving in your neighborhood, town, city, country, planet, then I hope you've still had an opportunity to give thanks for the things that we have and the opportunities that we have. And I am so happy for the opportunities I have with podcasting, with web design, and everything else. And so thankful to have you listening, and so thankful for your feedback and to have you a part of this growing community. Today, I'm going to give you 5 tips for starting a website, whether it be for blogging or podcasting, or maybe you've got a website already, or you think you have a website. What I mean by think is you might have a site on Libsyn.com, or you might have a site on mypodcast.com, which actually you don't, because mypodcast.com is dead now. So you don't have a site there. But if you have one of these sites on something other than your own domain, maybe even like WordPress.com, then I wouldn't really say you have your own site. You have an apartment on someone else's property, not your own site. I love this, the metaphor of talking about houses. When you're on something like WordPress.com or Libsyn.com, you are in an apartment. You have a single apartment in an apartment complex. So you are very limited on what you can do with the space and where you can go in the future that you have with possibilities there. But if you have your own house, well, you can decorate it however you want. You can remodel it. You can be as loud as you want inside your house. You can turn up your movies or Xbox as loud as you want. You have control over your own property. And I suggest that everyone who wants to have their own blog or podcast have their own website that they control, not that someone else controls, like on WordPress.com or on Libsyn.com or many of these other places like Podbean. Are they still around? I don't know. These sites like Podbean, mypodcast.com, and podcast.com are dropping like flies, and apparently flies drop a lot because these are dropping. So if you already have a website on these, or a web page on these services, this will help you. Or maybe if you already have a website on your own domain, but you're looking for ways to switch servers or looking for other options that may save you money, or just wondering how can you do what you've already done again? Maybe you've forgotten how to create a website. Whatever the case, you'll probably learn quite a bit from this and get a few little tidbits of wisdom too if you are already in this process. So how to start a blog or podcast website is, first, it really starts with picking a good domain. And I've shared tips on picking good domains back in episode 19. That's, wow, quite a ways back. So go back to theaudacitytopodcast.com/19 and you can get a glimpse of some of the things that I mentioned, tips for picking your own domain for your podcast. To refresh your memory, some of those tips were, number 1, get your own domain. That's kind of obvious. But number 2, keep it short and simple. Don't get these really long domains. Number 3, get the .com unless some sort of alternatives fit. And number 4, make it easy to spell and understand. Avoid ambiguous things. Number 5, beware of forming new words. Don't have the Zoop Zoop podcast and then tell people just visit zoopzoop.com. How do you spell that? And number 6 was use your domain for your email address, or have like feedback at mypodcast.com instead of mypodcast@gmail.com. And I emailed my email newsletter subscribers about this recently. So back to this, how to start your blog or podcast website. Pick your domain. And you may already have a domain, or you may want to register a domain, or maybe you're looking for one. So pick what it's going to be, or pick which one you're going to use if you already have one. Number 2, get a web host. And the way this works is that a domain is simply the name of your site. It's like an address for your house. But your web host is what actually holds your website, your files, your pictures, your blog, all of that. So you can have an address. Like I can go get a P.O. box. I have a P.O. box, but that P.O. box can't hold very much. And I certainly can't live in a P.O. box. So you need an address that goes to a special server where your website and files sit. So that's what a web host does for you. There are 2 web hosts that I recommend, Site5 and BlueHost. You've heard a lot about BlueHost, and there are pluses and minuses to both of these. They essentially have the same features with a few differences, and this is why I have personally, at this moment, I am using Site5. Shared hosting, actually, and I've been very happy with it. I've referred a lot of clients over to Site5, and they've been very happy with the service, the price, and everything. I also have a lot of clients that use BlueHost, and they're very happy with it as well. But I recommend Site5 and BlueHost. If you go there, you might be a little bit overwhelmed at looking at the different price comparisons, feature comparisons, and all of that. So let me break it down to you to the essential 6 differences between Site5 and BlueHost. Well, first of all, this isn't in my list, but BlueHost offers one hosting plan. They offer ways that you can upgrade it, but there's one basic hosting plan. Site5 offers a few different hosting plans. So I'll compare the Site5 Host Basic account, Host Pro account, and the BlueHost account. So that's 3 different options there. First of all, Site5 charges $9.96 per year for your domain name. So that would be your .com portion. BlueHost includes that for free for your first year. After your first year, BlueHost will charge you $11.95 for your domain. So if you have mypodcast.com, you'll get that for free at Bluehost for the first year. After that, it's about $12. From Site5, it's $10 a year for any plan that you have from Site5. With Site5, they offer their core difference between their 2 different plans are how many websites you can have. With Host Basic, you have one website. One domain, one website. You can have a lot of other domains forward to that, but it's one domain and one website. It's kind of like one family living inside of one house. But Site5 also offers another plan called the Host Pro plan, which is what I have, and it offers unlimited websites within it. So when you visit the Audacity podcast or a Clean Comedy podcast or Noodle.mx or any of my other websites, they are all websites under a single web hosting account. I'm using the Site5 Host Pro account. I really like Site5 and their quality of service and everything. So I'm using them. So I can host unlimited websites. Now I do pay for domains, and that would be the case anywhere. Well, BlueHost also offers, with their single plan, they also offer unlimited websites for your one hosting plan. So on Site5, you get 2 options. One could save your money. On BlueHost, you get unlimited. Then on Site5 offers something with any of their hosting plans that I totally love. And this is why I highly recommend Site5 to anyone, is that Site5 offers free website migration. By the way, if you want to go to these separate websites, please use my affiliate links, where I do benefit if you use them, but I would appreciate if you would use them. Noodle.mx/Site5, that's the number 5, or Noodle.mx/Bluehost will take you to both of these sites. Well, so back to what I was saying about migration, is if you already have a site with a particular web host, and maybe it has Cpanel in the back end. Maybe you have no idea what it has in the back end. Site5 will migrate that website for you to your new Site5 account. This is fantastic. If you have no idea how to create MySQL exports or archive all of your information or a Cpanel backup and re-import all of this stuff into your new website, if you don't have any idea about any of this stuff, Site5 is definitely the way to go because they will transfer this stuff for you. They'll transfer your files, your databases, your email addresses, your forwards, your FTP accounts, all of this information. And it is wonderful, especially for people who don't want to care about that technical backend, which as a blogger or podcaster, I don't think you need to. You don't need to know how to do MySQL backups and archives and all of this stuff. You need to know how to do your content. That's what's most important to you, not this Cpanel and MySQL stuff. So Site5 migrates that for free with any of their plans, the cheap plan, the expensive plan, whatever. They do have a limit, but it's a very generous limit. 10 non-Cpanel accounts or 25 Cpanel accounts. So if you want to, for example, go from BlueHost to Site5, they would do that for free. It's a Cpanel account. It's real easy for them to do. They transfer it for free. If you want to go from DreamHost to Site5, well, DreamHost isn't a Cpanel web host. They use something else. But it would still be free to go from DreamHost to Site5 because Site5 offers up to 10 non-Cpanel migrations. This is fantastic. Even if you have a bunch of different websites on different accounts and you want to transfer them into an account where you can host unlimited domains, or it's called a multi-domain account. So transfer it into Site5's Host Pro account. They'll transfer these things for you, multiple websites into a single account. I love that. And that's why I highly recommend Site5. It's because they transfer that for you for free. It's included. Absolutely love it. They've got great customer service too. BlueHost, though, doesn't offer any kind of website migration. If you want to move your website to BlueHost, you have to do it on your own, or maybe plead and beg for them to do it, or they probably charge a way for you to do it. Now, the satisfaction guarantee of these two companies is also different, and Site5 has the same satisfaction for any of their shared plans. Their virtual private server plans are different, but we're not talking about that for now. Site5 offers a 45-day, 100% cashback guarantee. So if within 45 days you don't like their service or their website or whatever, and you decide to move somewhere else, let them know and they'll refund whatever you've paid for your website, 100% cash back for that within 45 days. BlueHost, however, offers an anytime cashback guarantee. Now, it's not 100%. It's a prorated amount. So if you've paid for 12 months of BlueHost and 6 months in, you decide, I do not like BlueHost, I want to move away from here, well, they'll give you a 6-month refund because you've already used 6 months. You have 6 months left. They'll give you a prorated refund there. So I think within the first month, you're really going to know whether you want to stay, but you might decide one or the other is better for you. Now, let's talk about the actual price of it. When you visit these websites and you look at their front pages, the pricing information could be a little bit confusing because the numbers I'm going to give you are different from what you'll see on the website. And that's because most places will show you a 2-year price instead of a 1-year price. And I recommend that you look at just 1-year prices or 12-month price instead of a 2-year price. Because if you order for 2 years and you don't like them after 9 months, you're still locked in for another year, or you'll lose money if you have to try and move to someone else. So I recommend just look at the year pricing. And here's the actual pricing for this. So for the Site5 Host Basic, this is where you can host one website with your account. It's $5.95 a month if you have the 12-month plan. Or the annual price without any promos or anything and including one domain is $81.36 per year at Site5 with the Host Basic for one website on that. Or if you want the Site5 Host Pro account, which is what I use to host unlimited websites, and that's their main difference there, is that it's unlimited websites instead of just one, then it is $9.95 per month, or for a 1 year price, it is with the domain and no promos here. It's $129.36 per year. And this, by the way, if you're listening to this podcast in the future, this is as of the end of November 2011. BlueHost is a little bit cheaper than Site5's Host Pro account, but a little bit more expensive than Site5's Host Basic account. BlueHost is $7.95 per year, and remember, they offer unlimited websites, and your first year of a domain is free. But after that, they charge for your domain. So the annual price without that first year promo at BlueHost is $107.35. Now, I've given you a lot of information in comparing these different hosts. I will have this in a very friendly, easy-to-read table that you can look at on the website for the show notes for this episode. That's at theaudacitypodcast.com/58. And you can see then and compare these different options with each other. I highly recommend Site5 because if you use their basic service and have just one website, then it will only cost you $6 a month plus your domain. But if you have unlimited websites, then they have that, and they'll migrate your site for you. I absolutely love that. So if you want to check out either of these hosts, please use my links, which are noodle.mx/site5. It looks like the word sites, but it's actually site and the number 5. And noodle.mx/BlueHost. I will have the links to these in the show notes and this table of information that you can see over at theaudacitypodcast.com/58. So after you've picked your domain, you've gotten your web host, and maybe your web host registered your domain, or maybe you got your domain from somewhere else. Now it's time to install WordPress. Installing WordPress on either Site5 or BlueHost is really easy. On Site5, you go into what they call the SiteAdmin. It's really just Cpanel, and Cpanel is a certain brand of control panel, but it's really just Cpanel. What you look for when you're in your Site5 SiteAdmin is scroll down to the bottom and find Fantastico. Load that, and then you'll find on the left side WordPress. As in this long list of software you can install, you'll find WordPress. At this moment, the end of November 2011, the latest version that they are installing is 3.1 in Fantastico. But once you've installed it, it's really easy to just in WordPress click Update, and it will update you to the latest version, which is, as of right now, is 3.2.1. If 3.3 is out by the time you hear this, then you'll also be able to update to that pretty easily. So that's how you do it in Site5, or really any Cpanel-based web host that also has Fantastico will be that option. You go into the Cpanel, you find Fantastico, and then you install WordPress. And it gives you options as you go along. Just follow their instructions as you do it. BlueHost is a little bit different. I like the way BlueHost does this. When you're in your BlueHost Cpanel, or the control panel, it is still Cpanel, but the method is just a little bit different for installing WordPress. Right near the top of your Cpanel, you'll see an option that says WordPress. It's a little W icon. You click on that, and it's a very simple, friendly guide process that will go through and install WordPress for you, so you don't have to mess with MySQL databases and all of that. You can install it. Very similar options. Follow their instructions there. Again, both of these, super simple to do. So install WordPress on your site. If you don't have either of these web hosts, or you don't have Fantastico or anything like that on your site, then what I recommend that you do is go to wordpress.org and follow their instructions for installing WordPress on your site. It's pretty easy-ish, but I recommend these other methods. So after you've installed WordPress, then it's time to configure it. So you put in your name, your email address, you set up the title, you choose your theme, all of that stuff. I recommend the 2011 theme. Looks really nice, and I recommend that. And by the way, if you want a custom header image for 2011, I do that for people. I design those. Or if you want some tweaks to your theme or anything like that, I design that. So let me know if you want any of that stuff. You can email me, daniel@djosephdesign.com, and I would be happy to talk to you about a proposal for designing that for you. So you have WordPress installed and the basics of it configured. Then step number 4 is install and configure your plugins. I had an episode back at episode 41. So go to theaudacitytopodcast.com/41. I recommended several WordPress plugins for blogging and podcasting. Check that out back at episode 41, and the link to that will also be in the show notes for this episode, theaudacitytopodcast.com/58. And I recommended several plugins in there for different options and features that you can use. Take note that you don't install every single plugin at once, but the basics are, I would say, a FeedBurner plugin, Google Analytics plugin, and if you are podcasting, the PowerPress plugin. And there are a bunch of other plugins there too, and you can hear my thoughts on each of them and what they do. So after you've picked your domain, you've gotten a web host, you've installed and configured WordPress, and then you've installed and configured the plugins that you want, then the last step is publish your content. Another way of this is create stories. And that's it. Create your content, publish it, whether you're blogging or podcasting, put it out there on the web, and you are then populating your own website with content. I remember when I bought my house, it's the same house I live in now, and it was the first house that I bought. I was a bachelor, and I had almost no furniture whatsoever. So I would get home from work, come into this house, and I had a card table, a computer desk, and an inflatable mattress for my bed, and a chest of drawers. That was my furniture. That was it. Oh, and a chair, of course, to go with the computer desk. But that was my furniture. It was very bare bones. But through the years, I've slowly added furniture, added value. I've fixed up some things here and there in the house. That's what you'll be doing with your website. When you have your new home for your blog or podcast, then start filling it with furniture, with decorations. Maybe you want to touch up a couple things here or there, switch themes, like changing a paint job on your house or anything like that. Keep adding content, and it's like adding that furniture to your house or adding family members to your family. And the content is what your website needs to be all about. So as you start playing with your website, make sure that you never detract from the content. The message is the most important part of your website. That's why in my freelancing business, I tell people you have a message that deserves to look great. That's what I do. I try to make someone's message look or sound great because that's the most important part. The email newsletter, that's not the most important part. The content in the email newsletter might be. The buy button might not be the most important part. The most important part is the message that you have to share with someone. Maybe that message is inside a product, but make sure then your website focuses on that, on your content of your site. And as a blogger or podcaster, that content will hopefully be regularly updated. So pick your domain, get a web host, install WordPress, install the plugins, and publish your content. That's all it takes. 5 simple steps for getting your own website, whether you have a blog or a podcast. So check out the show notes at theaudacitytopodcast.com/58 so you can see the links here, get the links to the Site5 and BlueHost accounts, get the links to the previous episodes I mentioned, see some of the comparison stuff that I display in a table for you so you can compare those 3 different plans that I recommend. And if you start your website with BlueHost or Site5, I'd love to know that you did that, so feel free to email me. And if you have any feedback on these things or questions that you want me to address in future episodes, or especially Audacity things, I'm looking for more Audacity questions to answer, then please send those to feedback@noodle.mx or call 859-353-4332. You can also email an audio file, like if you want to record with your nice recording equipment, you can email your file to feedback@noodle.mx. But if you call in or send an audio file, please keep your audio to fewer than 3 minutes, and that will make it easy. And it may be edited for brevity or your privacy. If you leave your phone number in there, I'll edit that out for your privacy. So check out the show notes at theaudacitypodcast.com/58. And if you need any kind of website design for your own website, or don't want to mess with all of the stuff of creating your own website, then please contact me. I would love to help you with that. You can email me through any of the means. Call me at 859-353-4332, or check out my website. Maybe you need cover art for your podcast. Go to podcastcoverart.com, and I would love to design some stuff for you. I've been working with some other clients, and they've been happy. I've been happy, and their message is being pushed out there and looking great too, in my opinion. Thank you for listening to the Audacity Podcast. Check the show notes at theaudacitypodcast.com/58. Follow me on twitter.com/theramennoodle. Now that I've given you some of the guts and taught you some of the tools, it's time for you to go podcast with passion, organization, and dialogue. I'm Daniel J. Lewis. Thank you so much for listening. The Audacity Podcast is a proud member of the Noodle Mix Network. Find more of our podcasts on clean comedy, Christian movie reviews with critical thinking, Christian worldview, and more to come over at noodle.mx. That's the Noodle Mix Network at noodle.mx. The Audacity Podcast is also a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here, and here is a really big place. Lots of cool things there, like Minecraft podcasts or funny, geeky podcasts, or stuff about video, stuff about audio. It's a lot of cool stuff. Check it out at techpodcasts.com.